Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Lifters show. I am recording this on Wednesday, the 25th of January, but by the time this airs this day week, it is going to be the 1st of February. I don't know about you, but I thought January absolutely has flown by. I know it's not over yet as of recording this, but it's absolutely flown by. I was in the gym last week and it was Saturday morning. I was up in the warehouse in Galway. And God, I was surprised by how busy it was, but also it was just great to see like just people getting after it there, getting their workouts in and really taking things seriously this year. So I'm all for people being consistent in the gym, whether you're a newbie, whether you have been at it for a while. I absolutely love seeing it. Everyone has a start point. And just what I would say to anyone here listening is if there is someone in the gym there, do not laugh at them. Don't make anyone feel insecure or feel like they don't belong in the gym. I've heard one or two people complain about it that they just feel a bit intimidated, that they might shy away from it or they need a friend to go with. Everyone at one point was a beginner. So just, encourage people. Don't be making remarks or talking about people behind their back. We've all probably done some dumb things. I know I myself, God, if there's only a video of some of the stuff that I used to do in the gym. For example, I remember once I was doing a bicep curl to shoulder press when I was starting out. How crazy is this? Like probably my first 2 or 3 weeks ever training. And I'd always use my right arm for pretty much everything and my left arm not as much. So I remember I probably was doing like 5 kilo dumbbells with the left arm and 7.5 with the right because I was like, well, my thought process was, seeing as my right is stronger than my left, I may as well push my right as much as I want to push my left. And if I can't push my left with 7.5, I'll just use a lighter weight for that and use a heavier one for my right. Little did I know that I was contributing more to that imbalance. So look, that is me. I'm a fitness coach now, 10 years on, and this is what I help people with. So all I want to say is everyone does have a start point. Please do not laugh or make jokes or make remarks about anyone in the gym. It's great to see them busy and long may it continue. All right. So we are recording, or this is going to be obviously out the 1st of February. So start of a new month. Everyone sets big, big goals for January. Just remember there's 11 more months of the year. This is month two. Let's keep this consistent now with February. If you've been getting to the gym a few times a week in January, continue that on. Excuse me. Must grab some water. Continue that on and just see it through now. See it through. And today's episode 50, hard to believe, nearly a full year of recording. I know I started this podcast in February of 2022 in Marbella in Spain. It was a big goal of mine for the first 90 days of 2022. It's been great to get it done. There were some weeks where I found it hard to get one episode a week, but we're almost here now for a full calendar year. So again, I need to be consistent and I want to be consistent as well. Have some guests again coming along and lined up over the next couple of weeks. Excited to chat to a few like-minded individuals, but today it's going to be a Q&A. And these questions, these were either from so any new clients that I work with, I get them to fill out just an intake questionnaire. And one question I like to ask is, what's your number one question in relation to fitness, health, training, nutrition? And sometimes these can be actually great opportunities for me to cover in a bit more detail. There's only so much detail you can go into a topic when you're giving a client a check-in. But with a podcast like this, I said I would like to actually talk about some of these commonly asked questions in a bit more detail. So the first question that I got asked, well, this actually wasn't from a client, it was from someone on Instagram. My Instagram is at Mac Lifestyle Fitness. Ronan asked me, I've tried a few things to lose weight, but it's not really working. I'm skinny fat around my tummy. I'm not a gym goer, so can you suggest anything? I do walk a bit and eat relatively healthy. Is there anything that I can do? All right. So I actually spoke with this on 3 previous episodes. I did a full episode on how to transform a skinny fat body. I'm not fat shaming anyone because I used to be that classical skinny fat body. I had no arms, tiny arms, no chest, and yet I was carrying a bit of weight there around my tummy. Like a bit of stubborn body fat. I'm like, God, I'm really skinny yet. How come I'm carrying this excess weight around my tummy? So I'm not going to go into this as much detail as I did 3 episodes ago, but I'll just cover a few pointers. The root cause of being skinny fat is having a lack of muscle across your entire body. Okay. Now, I know, Ronan, you mentioned that I'm not a gym goer, so can you suggest anything? Okay. Do you need to go to the gym to lose belly fat? Because that's part of the question. Absolutely not. How do you lose fat? You lose fat by being in a calorie deficit. Now, you said that you eat healthy. I don't know what healthy looks like. For example, I often hear people say, I eat healthy, yet I can't lose weight. Okay, cool. Can you send me a food diary and just let me know what you would have eaten the past couple of days? Breakfast, it's a healthy granola that turns out to be 600 calories. Okay, for lunchtime, they're getting a wrap which might have 200 or 300 calories with a small bit of ham and some mayonnaise on it and all of these extra additives there. That could be another 500 or 600 calories. And then they're forgetting about the cappuccino you have in the morning with the protein bar. That's another 400 calories. And then we go home in the evening, and as we're cooking the dinner, we're snacking, we're reaching for foods, we're reaching for nuts, we're reaching for a bit of chocolate here and there. We've had another 200 calories while the dinner is cooking. We eat our dinner, and it might be a stir fry. It could be some rice thrown in there with some chicken curry. It could be a spaghetti bolognese. It could be something like that. And then we sit down for the evening, we have a cup of tea, and we have 3 biscuits there. For some people, that might be relatively healthy eating, yet, for someone who needs to consume less than, we'll say, 2,000 calories, you might be 2,500 there, even though it doesn't seem like you're eating a lot. So I don't know what your nutrition looks like, Ronan, but what I will say is, look, I'll start with the food. You technically, you do not need to go to the gym to lose weight. That will come primarily from a calorie deficit. However, will that help you lose weight? Of course, because going back to the root cause of being skinny fat, it's lack of muscle across your entire body. How do you drop body fat? You drop body fat by being in a calorie deficit. So for you, Ronan, I'd be saying for your nutrition, prioritize protein. And the great thing is the fact that you haven't really started yet, you're not a gym goer, you don't need to be in a massive calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. If you just have a consistent high protein diet, stay even in and around your maintenance calories there, whatever they are for you. But just prioritizing protein, maybe 2 grams per kilo body weight, that is going to massively help with you just reducing body fat around your tummy. Okay. Secondly, then maybe a slight calorie deficit. So it's kind of a conflicting goals here, because the root cause of being skinny fat is having a lack of muscle, and you build muscle optimally by being in a calorie surplus. But for anyone starting out without a whole lot of prior experience, it's those what we call the newbie gains. And this is the honeymoon period where you can actually build muscle while being in a calorie deficit. In other words, you can build muscle and lose fat simultaneously. So for you, Ronan, I'd actually I'll go back over my words. I would say be in a slight calorie deficit, but not a major one. Maybe a 10% calorie deficit there. Have a high protein diet, and that is going to help you reduce body fat. However, problem is what often happens if we reduce body fat by just being in a calorie deficit without exercise, or you mentioned your main form of exercise might be walking, or you might do a bit of cardio, what would happen is you just become a smaller, skinnier, fat version of yourself. Because it happened to me. You lose weight, but you're now losing weight and you've got nothing there to show in your frame. Again, what's the missing factor here? We're missing muscle. We do not have enough muscle across our entire body. So technically you can lose weight without lifting weights, but most people, when they say they want to lose weight, they really mean they want to tone up. And tone up is a fancy word for having muscle while losing body fat. And there's no short way about it, but the only way to build muscle is through strength training, resistance training, lifting weights in the gym. Okay, so I would not suggest that you start out with 5, 6 workouts a week. James Clear, author of the book Atomic Habits, one guy who had been reading his book, James Clear is all about mastering the art of showing up. And his theory is 6 5-minute workouts a week is better than one 30-minute, because you're building a consistent routine of just showing up. And that even if you only get 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, it might not sound like a lot, but what are you really doing? You're building the habit, you're building the consistency, you're building a new identity. This is part of my lifestyle. This is who I want to become. So, what I would say for you there, Ronan, is just master the art of showing up to the gym a few times a week. And even if it's just 4 10-minute sessions, and in those 10-minute sessions on one day, you might do you might focus on a compound lift like a squat. On another day, you could do a compound lift like a deadlift, another day, a bench press and a shoulder press. I know it might sound very, very basic, but that could be a start point. And then as you get more confident, those 10-minute workouts could turn to 20 minutes. And now we can do deadlifts with RDLs. We can do squats with reverse lunges. We can do bench press with a dumbbell row. We can do overhead press with a lat pull down. And now we're building up some accessories there. But it all starts out with just that initial overcoming that inertia. I had a consultation call with a guy last night, and he was the exact same. And I'm really excited about working with him now. But he just said, I just need someone to help me get off to a start, get off to the first, get over those first couple of weeks, because that's what I find most challenging. But then he said, once he actually gets into that routine, it actually does become enjoyable, but it's just getting out of that slump. So, Roland, takeaways for you or for anyone listening who had a skinny fat body just like I did. The root cause of it is having a lack of muscle. So that is going to come from lifting weights. And if you're in the gym, I would really focus on compound lifts primarily and build your program around that. Number two, you cannot, or a high protein diet and potentially even a moderate calorie deficit there, which would still allow you to lose body fat and build muscle. And finally, it's just important to remember you cannot spot reduce body fat. You can only control being in a calorie deficit. I remember during my teens, again, everyone wants the flat tummy. So the whole theory is let's just do a lot of core work. And core work obviously will strengthen your core. But if you have an extra layer of body fat around that, no amount of core work is going to help if you're not in a calorie deficit. So there was me, testing myself, holding a plank in the sitting room, thinking that this is going to help me, really, really drop that belly fat and get a nice defined aesthetic abs. But the real missing factor for me was actually not being in the calorie deficit. So I'm not saying core work isn't important, but if you have an extra layer of body fat around that, you're never going to get that definition in your abs. And that comes into a second question, which I got is, how do I get close to getting abs? So for guys, usually if you're in that like 10 to 12% body fat range, and for girls, usually 20 to 22%, that is when you really start seeing definition. Now, what I would say is I stay relatively lean year round, and I did a podcast last week on 10 things that I do, and I don't find it difficult to stay relatively lean year round. I'm not photo shoot ready. I'm not up on stage ready, but I'm at a point where if I have an upcoming holiday, I'm only like 2 or maybe 3 weeks consistent, 3 weeks of being in a calorie deficit away from being in the shape that I want to be for it. And that's how I kind of want to be all year. It's just like almost staying ready. All right. I don't like going in two extremes of like a cut or a bulk. I don't like having my calories too low. I don't like having them excessively high either. I like just staying relatively lean and athletic year round. So getting there, getting there for me, it's not that difficult. But for others, there might be a bit of an opportunity cost because you still got to be more mindful of your food. And we'll say getting from 15 to 12% is quite manageable. But then if you want to go like sub teens or sub tens, you want to get 6, 7, 8, 9%. That is where the opportunity cost comes in. That's where you got to be tracking your food pretty much daily. You have to make sure that you're in a calorie deficit, of course. You've got a high protein diet. You're training, that you're pushing yourself there. All of these things do compound. All right. Like for me, I don't know what my body fat levels are at the moment. I'd estimate maybe 10%. But if I wanted to get to 6%, oh my God, it would be like an increase of 30 to 40% in my activity, in my intensity, in my nutrition there, ramping things up. So the leaner you get, the harder it does become. But just in short, how do I get close to getting abs? I mean, again, I don't know what you're currently doing, but a good start point is usually 4 strength sessions a week. Keeping a step count of, about 10,000 will be like a good target there for you. You could do 1 or 2 days of cardio on your off days. So that could be your zone two steady state cardio. It could be something like 30 to 45 minutes on the elliptical, on a steady state run, on the rower, on the bike, something along those lines. The cardio is going to help you burn some additional calories. And then, of course, with your nutrition, following the 80-20 or 90-10 approach, 90% of your calories from real single ingredient whole foods, 10% from more what we call processed ingredients. Okay, having a high protein diet and then balancing out your carbohydrates and your fats. Having more carbohydrates on training days and fewer on rest days. Like that is a simple formula there. And people say that sounds easy, but the difficult thing is doing it. Are you getting your steps in? Are you getting your strength training sessions in? Are you following a high protein diet? Are you resisting the temptation to have a cheat meal every weekend, which can sometimes set people back further than they think? All of these things do add up. And also, there is an opportunity cost. You cannot do it all. Like people want to have visible abs, but they also want to drink 3 nights a week, get 2 takeaways a week, and go on holidays once a month. I'm not saying that's not achievable, but it's quite it's definitely a hefty goal there. All right. So just prioritize different seasons for different goals. And I think especially now that we're at the start of February, as of launch or as of this episode will be dropped, it's good to start thinking about summertime. Summer bodies are built in the winter. All right. If you have a goal, a holiday coming up, don't leave it too late. Now is the time to start. Now is the time to start. Number two, what are your favorite high protein snacks that kill chocolate cravings? So I'll keep this one nice and short. I mean, honestly, I feel in the last few years, there's been such a movement towards having healthy, high protein snacks there that for anyone who even says, I find it difficult to get protein in, at the very least, just go to Aldi, get one of those high protein chocolate mousses that everyone is ramping on about, and just grab one of those, 20 grams in the pot. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as like a lean chicken fillet? No. But compared to what? Compared to getting no protein in at all, it's absolutely fantastic. So, like, I'll just go into some. The protein mousses are fantastic. Those protein puddings, oh my God, they really do taste nice. What is the other brand? There's something Everest. There's a chocolate mint one there you can get in Tesco, and oh my God, it's gorgeous. And the great thing is there's only like 150, 160 calories in those. So those chocolate protein yogurts, the mousses, I find really help curb sugar cravings. What I sometimes do as well is I like to make my own version. So I'll get the 0% Faye Greek yogurt, and that is such a lean source of protein. I will get a scoop of protein, I'll stir that in, I'll get a bit of powdered peanut butter, mix that around, and then I'll add some toppings. So I like some berries, I like a bit of dark chocolate, and maybe a sprinkle of granola there. And all of that, so we'll say 250 grams of Greek yogurt, that's about 150 calories. A scoop of protein, 250. Square dark chocolate, we're at 300. And then some berries, and a sprinkle of granola might be 350 calories there. If I wanted to reduce the calories of that, I just put in half a scoop of protein, half a square of dark chocolate, and then all of a sudden you're at 250 calories. Again, a gorgeous high protein, delicious, nutritious snack there. Other alternative options, so I love protein porridge, my protein oats, first thing in the morning. I always train fasted, protein oats post-workout. So how I do that is I'll get a protein shake, I will mix with some almond milk, half almond, half water. Vanilla is my go-to for the protein oats. Shake that around. I will put in whatever, 100, 150 grams of oats. Leave that in the fridge overnight, and I'll microwave it the next day for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I'll have that with mixed berries. And that is like dessert for breakfast. I absolutely love it. So there's a lot of ways to kill chocolate cravings, just finding the way that works well for you. Other people, they like the cottage cheese. I know some of our members do. Cottage cheese, mix that with a bit of protein. Again, the formula is quite similar. Have a lean source of protein, whether that's yogurt, cottage cheese, or even a protein shake. Mix that with something, add a bit of fruit, maybe some dark chocolate, and you are sorted. Number three, why isn't the scale moving as I as I feel I look a lot different. Okay. So the scale is just literally the number. It's a number on the scale. It does not indicate your body composition, which is the ratio of muscle to fat that you have, your body fat percentage. Now, people might say this is a bit obsessive, but what I've started recently doing the past year or so is I actually weigh myself pretty much daily now. And it's a great way to see how my weight fluctuates. Like today, I'm up 0.7 kilos from yesterday. And the reason being is probably because I ate a later meal than normal. Um, that was probably the biggest thing. I ate a later meal than normal, and it was a carb heavy meal. I had some potatoes in there, for instance, I know. But it's also weighing yourself daily. It's great education because your weight can fluctuate daily. Depends on your salt intake. Actually, I salted my food yesterday as well, so I probably retain more of that water. Okay. Time of the month for women. You ate a late meal as well. All of these things can factor. When was the last time you used the bathroom? Okay, all of these things add up. So if you're just measuring your progress by the scale alone, it can often set you up for failure because you could be missing out on the fact that you could have lost or you could have stayed the same weight, but you could have built muscle and lost a bit of fat there. That's what we call recomposition. That is the ideal state for a lot of people where they want to stay the same weight, but they want to increase their muscle and lose fat. Okay, so why isn't the scale moving? You can make fantastic progress without the scale even moving at all. Okay, because again, the scale, it doesn't tell you how much of you is useful muscle you want to build, how much of me is useless body fat I want to get rid of. It's just that number. Whereas your body fat percentage, that's the ratio of muscle to fat that you have. And ideally, you want more muscle and less fat. You want more muscle and less fat. Okay, so more muscle is going to come from lifting weights. A reduction in fat, that is going to come from a calorie deficit. However, I don't know again your backstory to this, and if you are someone who potentially has like a competition that you're preparing for or that weight really does matter for you, this is a mistake people make when they're trying to lose weight. They go into a calorie deficit and they just stay there. They stay at that same number for X number of weeks. Now they stay there even though okay, if you're losing weight consistently, there's no need to necessarily change. But if you're starting to plateau after a week, after 2 weeks, 2 weeks in particular, nothing changes there at all, that's when you need to adjust your calories because in general, a lighter body burns fewer calories than a heavier body. And your metabolism will adjust to being in a calorie deficit for too long. So let's just say you were at 75 kilos and you lost 5 kilos, you got to 70. At 75 kilos, your maintenance calories are 2,500. When you get to 70 kilos, your maintenance calories might be reduced to 2,300. But if you keep eating at the rate you would have when you were at 75 kilos, you might actually be at your new maintenance levels without realizing. All right. Because 2,300 previously would have been a calorie deficit for you. Now it's calorie maintenance. So that's a common mistake people make is when they lose weight, they stay at the same calories. Be sure to adjust your calories accordingly if you want to lose weight consistently. And also having multiple metrics of success, your weight, progress pictures, confidence in your clothes, how you're feeling, your energy levels, your performance in the gym, all of these things matter as well. All right. Next question, is daily cardio recommended alongside strength training? So is cardio essential for fat loss? No. But does that mean it's not important? Absolutely not. All right. It is so important for your heart health, for your longevity. There was a study done where it showed that I don't have the specifics of the lift, but basically, long story short, endurance runners, they had the highest life longevity. They lived longer than, let's say, I think strength training athletes or obviously it's just more sedentary individuals. The takeaway being that they had obviously very good cardiovascular fitness, and that is why it's so important. All right, so do not neglect your cardio. The recommended amount is 150 to 180 minutes of zone 2 cardio. And that's zone 2 cardio. There's a lot more research you might find now on the internet coming out about it. Just the benefits of improving your overall cardiovascular fitness and your cardio base. So what zone 2 cardio, that's your traditional 45-minute run. It's your traditional, elliptical, rowing machine, cycling, whatever it might be, for just a steady state period of time. So 150 to 180 minutes, like that's quite steep when you actually look at it. Like that's 2.5 to 3 hours of that. So the way we work this Mac Lifestyle Fitness, because for some of our clients, 3 hours is the total amount of time they can dedicate to training for a full week. So we got to prioritize what's important. So what I like to do there is, particularly for busy workers who want to drop a bit of belly fat but also get a bit leaner, I would actually sprinkle cardio into their sessions through supersets even. All right. So what I will do is I very rarely independently just have one exercise on its own. Maybe something like a deadlift or a barbell back squat where you genuinely need the rest. But often I really love supersets. The benefit being is that you can get double the amount of work done in the same amount of time. For the 2 minutes that you're resting after a bench press, why not do some form of a dumbbell row there? Okay. Research has shown there's a very, very minimal interference effect if you actually pair supersets the right way. Like if you do a bench press and then you do a push up, that is, of course, going to impact your bench press because you're working the same muscle twice. But if you work antagonistic muscles, which is basically the opposite muscles, where you do a bench press for your chest and then you do a row for your back, that doing that row is going to have a very, very minimal interference effect on your bench press. And not to mention the benefits can have long term of getting double the amount of volume in the same amount of time. So how we navigate this for some of our busier clients, we do supersets. I like to do EMOM circuits. So EMOM is every minute on the minute. For example, one that I'm a big fan of is a kettlebell swing into a goblet squat. 6 to 8 goblet squats, 6 to 8 kettlebell swings for 6 to 8 minutes every minute on the minute. What that means is, let's just say you do 6 goblet squats and you do 6 kettlebell swings, and that takes you 40 seconds. You rest 20 seconds and you start a new round of that on the minute every minute for 6 to 8 minutes. And boy, let's just say you do six sets of 6. That means in 6 minutes, you've got 36 goblet squats, you've got 36 kettlebell swings done, 72 total reps inside 6 minutes. That is a great way to pack in volume, to do some cardio there as well in your workouts, and just to get a nice sweat on there and get in, get out, get it done. As some people, that's their genuine goal. Other ways then I like to incorporate some cardio is doing finishers. So for instance, one of our members, he loves us feeling fresh and not feeling fresh, but also feeling like he got a good sweat on leaving the workout. So we've incorporated some finishers here. An upper body one, for example, for him was we did a push-up into a renegade row. Now you might notice the pattern here. So he's in a push-up position. He does, we'll say, 5 push-ups, 5 renegade rows. He's still in that push-up position doing the renegade rows. From there, we might go into kick sets, which is basically a core exercise, and you're still in that push-up position. It is where you balance on your right arm and you kick your right leg in the opposite direction. Okay. Look it up online if you find a hard time visualizing that. So we do push-ups, renegade rows, kick sets. Then we might go into scap push-ups. Again, he's still in that push-up position, and finish with bear crawls. All right. This is more of a dynamic movement working his core. So in that workout set there, he has not changed position. We're doing some push-ups, we're doing some renegade rows, we're doing some core work. We're doing it all from the same position. And it's an easy way to get, we'll say, 4 or 5 rounds of that in, which will absolutely elevate your heart rate, give you a great pump. It's what I call muscle building cardio, and leave the gym feeling like you have a sense of achievement there. Okay, so I like doing finishers as well to incorporate cardio. And then as well, other recommended forms of cardio that I really enjoy is interval cardio. And the benefit of interval cardio is, let's say if you're doing a 5K run and your average pace was, we'll say, 12 kilometers an hour. Okay, 12 kilometers an hour is your average pace there. What I sometimes like to do is I will do interval cardio where I'll go 30 seconds at 18 kilometers an hour, which is much, much faster than we'll say, my 12K pace. But I'll only do that for 30 seconds, 35 seconds, rest 25 seconds, and go on the minute every minute for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And that is a great way to accustom your body to get used to running at faster speed, or at higher speed, and then just resting adequately in between while staying within that, steady state pace. You don't want to be doing that interval cardio. Well, if the goal is to improve your zone two and have that lactic acid, that burning sensation build up in the legs, that is not the purpose of this cardio. It is just to build your overall base. So there's some of my favorite ways to incorporate cardio. But the recommended weekly amount is 150 to 180 minutes. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are shy or are short of that. So it might be a good idea to try dedicate a day specifically or two to your zone two cardio, or at the very least, sprinkle in some finishers, some EMOM circuits there, so you're elevating your heart rate in your workout. All right. I always say I never want to be the guy or the girl in the gym who is out of breath going up a flight of stairs. Like for me, you might look fit, but you're not necessarily you're not fit. You're not physically fit. Okay. You can look fit, but you don't necessarily have to be fit by just looking fit. I want to look fit and actually be fit. So that is why I do incorporate cardio into my own training and into our members as well. All right. Um, last question or second last question, how to build up to a full chin up. Okay. So building up to a full chin up, one of the most effective ways is to reduce your body weight, first of all, because you got to remember, you are obviously you're carrying your own body weight there. And the heavier you are, the more difficult, the more weight you actually have to attach to yourself. So that is number one, and that's going to come through calorie deficit. Now, depending on your start point, I actually have a formula for this. I'll go through it now. So just building your overall back is important. And the more specific you can get to mimicking the chin up, the more of a carryover you're going to get. So for example, any client who wants to build up to a chin up, Kathleen, one of her members, that's a goal of hers before a wedding this year. We always start out with inverted rows. So that could be knees bent inverted rows, then knees straight inverted rows. Then you could do feet elevated inverted rows. Then you could do weighted inverted rows. Once you become comfortable with inverted rows, let's go on to eccentric chin-ups. Now, what are eccentric chin-ups? It is where you get maybe an 18-inch box and you put it below the chin-up bar, and you're actually not pulling yourself up to the bar. Your start position is your chin over the bar, and eccentric is you're just focusing on the lowering. All right, so you start up with your chin over the bar and you lower yourself for a count of 3 to 5 seconds. That's one rep. Repeat that for, 3, 4, 5 reps. And if you can do consecutive reps at eccentric chin-ups, it's a great sign that you're well on your way to building up to a full chin-up. Okay. So I will then transition to eccentric chin-ups. They are amazing. It's so specific to actually building up to your chin-up, except you're just focusing on the lowering part. Because with the eccentric part of a lift, you can load up to 20 to 25% more weight there, which is why people are stronger in that portion of the lift. Okay. From there, then we can go to eccentric plus isometric. So that might mean you start at the top position, you lower yourself down, and at the halfway point, you hold that position. All right. You hold that position for 10, 20 seconds, and then you lower yourself to the bottom. Up again, step up onto the box, start at the top position, chin over the bar, lower yourself down for 1, 2, and 3. Pause halfway. Hold that for 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way to 1. And then lower again for a count of 2, 3, and 1. All right. Or 3, 2, and 1. And now you're incorporating eccentrics and isometrics, because isometrics will help you overcome sticking points. And for most people, their sticking point is probably just at the start of the lift or halfway up the lift. The closer you get to lockout, the easier it does become. Okay. And then from there, you can go on to banded chin-ups. So now we are starting from the bottom position, but we have the assistance of a band to help us out. And, if you're doing those eccentric and isometrics, you're focused on your sticking points, you're doing banded, before long, you will build up to that full chin-up. All right. So reduce your body weight, number one. Do all of those inverted row variations that I mentioned. Also, exercises like lat pull downs are good, just rows for building your back. There's more specificity with doing eccentric chin-ups, isometric ones, and banded ones. All right. And final question, how to balance workouts with football training? So the goal of in-season training is to activate, not annihilate. You want to stay strong, you want to stay powerful without being stiff, tired, or sore on the pitch. And what often happens to athletes is they start out the season quite strong, but then they wonder why they get these niggles, these injuries as the season prolongs. And of course, there is an increase in activity and volume on the pitch there, but it's often as a result of neglecting strength training and not getting your baseline 2 sessions in a week. All right. So for in-season athletes, what you do in the in-season and off-season, it's very, very different. And a lot of athletes make the mistake of either not doing anything at all in season or doing the exact same thing they did in season, off season. The closer you get to championship season, the more you want to scale back the gym and keep that at maintenance and really push your performance. If you're still in kind of like a preseason, end season, you're still at a position where you can push and maybe get 3 sessions in, 3 or 4 sessions in. But if your pitch sessions now are 2 during the week and a match at the weekend, what I'd be saying there would be a good blueprint would be to do 2 full body strength sessions where the focus is more so lower reps with a higher intensity on the legs and not going to failure, and then pushing your upper body that bit more. Okay, they be your 2 maintenance sessions. So let's just say you do the gym on Monday, you train on Tuesday, you rest on Wednesday, gym on Thursday, train on Friday, rest on Saturday, and matches on Sunday. That could be a nice little blueprint there for you. Okay. If your match is on Saturday, what I like to give some of our members is the option of doing a recovery session on the Sunday. And that Sunday recovery session, it's all about getting a bit of blood flow in the legs. So maybe doing a small bit of tempo run on the treadmill, all right, or just a bit of bike work there for the first 10 or 15 minutes, just to get some blood flow in the legs. And then from there, do just more of like a quote unquote a traditional upper body pump. And I do think for guys, I used to have the opinion that, like bicep curls and all of these for athletes are a waste of time. But while they will not improve your physical or your performance on the pitch, there's a lot to be said for just the psychology of shaking hands with someone whose arms are absolutely freaking jacked. Because that is, that's going to keep you on your guard that, this guy or this girl, she lifts. He lifts. He's got big biceps, that can be intimidating. So I actually do genuinely think there is value for athletes, not from a performance standpoint, but from a confidence standpoint of actually training your arms, which is why I like to devote that recovery session after the first 15 or 20 minutes, after you've got the blood flow in the legs. Let's actually get a bit of a pump on. Let's get you leaving the gym feeling good with a bit of a pump. And that's going to carry over then to your recovery to start the new week. All right. So how to balance workouts with football training. The goal is you want to reduce the volume for the legs. You can push your upper body that bit more. My recommendation will be 2 full body sessions with an optional third there thrown in. The closer you get to championship, the more you want the gym to be maintenance and just keep ticking over, and the more focus you'll have in your performance. Final thing I will say is muscle soreness often comes from in-season training, from changing up your workouts too frequently. And that is why I don't like to add a whole lot of different variety to our in-season athletes to their workouts. They might be doing the same or similar movement for a period of 4, 8, or even 12 weeks with very minimal change. So for example, it could be a trap bar deadlift, phase 1. It could be an elevated trap bar deadlift, phase 2. It could be a deficit trap bar deadlift, phase 3. We're still doing the same movement, the same lift. We've just made a few slight tweaks and changes to it. That is really important for in-season athletes, that you don't want much muscle soreness, which means you don't want to add a whole lot of variety to your workouts. Focus on the movements that will give you full bang for your buck. Okay. And that is all for this week's episode. So I hope everyone got value from it. And if you did get value from it, please just share the show. Pay the fee, pay it forward, tell a friend, share with a friend. If you didn't learn anything from it, fair enough. This is value exchange. But if you got one takeaway from this, I would really appreciate if you leave a review, a 5-star review, and bonus, if you can actually leave a rating and a written review on iTunes. I would really appreciate that. most importantly, just share with a friend. Tag me on your IG stories if you got value from this. I'm at Mac Lifestyle Fitness, MC Lifestyle Fitness on Instagram. And we are at the start of a new month, so I have some free giveaways here for you if you want to get started. So what are your options? If you click the link in the bio, you will see an option for a 7-day fat loss accelerator. If you want to get your February off to a good start, these are some of these tools and tactics in our fat loss accelerator have helped some of our members lose up to 7 pounds in 7 days. Okay. There's also a free Live and Lean recipe cookbook, which I just got a message off a girl during the week or last week, an email saying she lost over 1 kilo in January by just following the recipes. And finally, I also have a free 3-day training program, the Mac Lean Lifestyle Transformation, where there's a nice focus on performance. In other words, training hard, but also aesthetics, looking good, feeling good, performing good. My overall approach with training. So load of freebies there for you in the show notes if you want to click into those. And that is all for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening. Hope everyone has a great week and chat to you guys next week.